Happy Sunday. So now that the weather's starting to warm up a little bit and we're getting drier days, our progress these days is pretty much measured in green bags. So these are the bags that we fill up with yard debris to take to the déchetterie. And most days we will fill all of these up in a single day, which is crazy. I think we have about 20 of them plus a few extra odds and ends that we'll fill up. And we don't have a trailer hitch on our car yet. We just haven't gotten around to that yet. So that means we have to load these into our small vehicle and take them in multiple trips. So we're really only allowed to take one load to the dump a day, which is open Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday.
Yeah.
So we have to really stay on top of our trips to the dump while we're getting all this work done. Otherwise, it piles up to a point where we just kind of at our standstill. So this week, I thought we would show you what we were doing to accumulate all of this. So we're still working on invasive removal. Big surprise, guys, I know. And now we've actually started to do some hedge work as well. So we'll take you around and show you the areas that we've made progress on this week. And then we did set aside some time to go thrifting. We try to go at least once a week. And so we had a good find this week, which I think is going to help me make some more progress of restocking our pantry.
It's been on the list.
It has been on the list since we got here. I've been missing this. And then I am still working on breakfast recipes, and I'm really excited to share this week's breakfast recipe because I think it's a very fun one and like really easy, even though it seems kind of fancy. So, you want to show what we've been up to?
Let's do it.
All right. I climbed up into the tree to continue working on removing all of the invasive ivy, and I thought I would show you what we're dealing with. So these are actually the ivy vines. So I showed you some of the big pieces that we cut off the tree last week, but you can see it just wraps and extends pretty far up into the tree. Now the good news is we can cut out big sections of this vine from this level, and then we should be able to kind of just tug and pull a lot of what's up in the canopy of the tree. Now this is a great time to be doing this project since it's late winter and the trees haven't started to leaf out yet. It's really easy to spot what doesn't belong here. Now let me turn around and I'll show you another tree that I'm working on. Okay, so this is a much smaller tree, but here again you can see this vine climbing up the tree. Now that vine is pretty significant percentage wise if you're looking at the diameter of the tree, so there's no doubt that would kill that tree over time. So we're gonna cut that one down as well, and then I think we'll be able to get every bit of what's up in the canopy of the tree without having to do any more climbing than what we've already done. So I'm gonna get to work on both of those trees. Here's another area that I'm working on. So Aaron and I find that it's nice to have a few projects going at once so that when you get tired of doing one thing, you can move over to doing something else. That way you're always making progress. So if I get tired of climbing trees to remove ivy or pulling it from the ground, I can switch over here and work on a new tree. So this one, as you can see, has ivy growing, I would say halfway up the tree, but it really hasn't gotten into the limbs at this point. This is a mimosa tree, so it's one of those trees with the beautiful yellow flowers. So you can see this berm here, heavily covered in ivy. So I think if we can get it off the tree and out of this berm, we'll be making some big progress. So this is an area we've been working on for a while and I've shown you before. So we had 2 trees that came down this winter in this area, and you can see these are trees that were covered in ivy. So Aaron has been working on cutting those up, and he's not too far from having that project done. And then I don't know if I showed you last winter, but I came out here and did a big controlled burn. So this is all this area where you see the ground mostly brown instead of covered, is an area that I tackled with just a single tank of propane. So I feel like for a 40-euro investment, it's pretty good bang for your buck. And I'm hoping to do some more controlled burns in this area because it's really impressive that we just did that one time and we're able to kill back so much of it. So anyway, I'm going to get back to work on this area and we'll see how much progress we can make. Okay, I've got that tree cleared now. I think there's just one little patch of ivy right there towards the middle section. I'll have to get a ladder to get that at some point. But I've cleared it pretty much in every direction. And then I also got this over here. There was another tree there. And then I got this section that extends off in this direction as well. Now I do need to get out here and deal with the ivy in the berm because as dense as that is, it's going to be right back on the trees if we don't take care of it. So I think this area is a good candidate for a controlled burn. So I'll be putting that on my to-do list to do soon. Here's something we haven't shown you guys yet. So this giant pile of limbs is the result of all of that tree work Mr. Huff has had to do. So mostly trees that have had to be taken down, or really almost entirely trees that have had been taken down because of that 100-mile-an-hour storm that we had shortly after we moved here. So I think we're at 37 trees so far, and that number is still climbing, but we're getting closer to the end of that project. So I think we'll let all this sit here until we're confident that we're pretty much done with the tree work, and then we'll get a shredder and turn all of this into mulch. Alright, let me show you today's crazy project. So just to give you an idea of where I'm at right now, here's the side of the house where the gîte is. And I've shown you before that we've kind of got, I call this tree henge because it's kind of crazy. Got these big tall evergreens mixed in with this hedge, and the problem that we're having is because this hedge has grown in so densely and tightly around the tall evergreens, it's killing out huge sections of them because they're just, these big bushes are not able to get enough air into their center, so they're just dying basically. So they've got these big hollow centers which are not pretty, and then you can see the outside because they're under stress. We got large sections that are just completely dying off. So it's going to take a lot of different decisions to sort out this section. But the first thing I want to do, because I don't want to start too drastically, the first thing I'm going to do is get the hedge trimmer out and try to start shaping some of these hedges. So I will probably end up taking about 2 feet, is what I'm thinking, off the top of them. And I'm just going to try to give them more of a shape, because these are actually a type of hedge that could be, in theory, could be shaped to look quite nice. So the question is whether we're at a point where that's going to be possible or not. So anyway, that's my project for today. I thought I would take you along. Alright, let me give you a little progress report. So you can see I'm starting to shape the hedge, and I think it's looking a little better. And it's definitely clearing up the walkway. And we've decided we're going to make our first brave move, and that's removing this tree right here. Let me climb into the hedge and show you why. Okay, so if you look in here, you see this is where this tree is coming out. So it's actually an offshoot of this main one here. This great big one. And they're pretty far away from each other. So that's obviously putting a lot of strain on that trunk. And I'm sure in a windy enough storm, it's eventually going to snap off anyway, because that's kind of crazy. Now, I'm excited about this because you can see there's actually a stone wall that runs behind all of this stuff. So at some point, I'm not sure that it wouldn't look better to have more, or maybe even all of the stone wall exposed. So Mr. Huff's going to do a little sawing, and we'll see how this turns out. Mr. Huff and his power tools. Yeah, you're gonna have to become one with the bush for this one. Ironically, that's not one I even trimmed yet. Alright, brave moment. So see if I can show you, this is the one we're keeping. And that's the offshoot, which is crazy. I think after he gets that out, I'll be able to show you the wall back there. Yeah, I see how the inside is just completely dead. There's just not enough air getting to those plants. Oh yeah, that's a good move. And then we've got that one other arm sticking out. Uh-huh. It looks more dead percentage-wise than alive. Alright, while I'm trimming hedges, I'm going to go ahead and get this section here along the Jeep driveway. So, same type of bush, looking all shaggy at the moment, but I think we can get it shaped up and top it off a little bit. And then it carries around, I'll show you. Here on the orchard side, you can see this area is so grown up with blackberries and everything else, you can't even see that hedge on this side. So we'll see what we can do to start getting that back on track. Alright, time for a progress report. So we managed to get the hedge pruned, so it's looking a lot more shaped, which is good, but more importantly, we now have a clear path to the back portion of the garden. So prior to this, we were having to kind of walk through this area sideways, which was not ideal. Now we do have some bald patches in the hedge, so we'll have to see if those fill in. But if not, I'm already sort of toying with the idea of removing this hedgerow, because we have the same rock wall in the Jeep garden extends all the way back here. So I think it actually might be nice to just open this up, and honestly a lot easier to maintain, because I don't know if you can see how wide this bush is, but with as tall as it is, it's very difficult to maintain. So I'm constantly thinking long term with a garden and what's going to be easiest for us to maintain as we get older. This hedge probably is not that, but I don't want to jump to any hasty decisions, so for now it stays. But I have to say, if you remember this area that we cleared in the back this summer, now it still needs to be weeded at the moment, but it'd be pretty nice to have that rock wall extending around to the side of the Jeep. So we'll see. We gotta take steps one at a time. Now I also really like some of these shrubs that are being kind of hidden or taken over by the big hedge, so I sort of also am interested in maybe removing this to allow them to show. Alright, aside from that, you would have seen Mr. Huff took off one of the little sections of this big guy. So that's opened up a little space there, a little more air for everything to circulate. But over here, you've seen me working on this hedge since last year. This time we focused on kind of pruning the hedge and shaping that a little bit, as well as some more blackberry and ivy removal. So bit by bit, it's getting better. It's definitely a lot thinner than it was. So I'm hoping we're on the verge of having this side cleaned up. But I think the more dramatic improvement is on the other side of the berm. So let me show you on the orchard side. Okay, so let me back up here so you can see. So we've cleared all of the blackberries off the hillside, all of the ivy in that area. So hopefully we can just have grass or whatever that grows up there, and we can just keep it mowed for now until I have time to do some more planting. But you can see the hedge is looking a lot less raggedy. It's got a little more shape to it. And I didn't film this, but a few weeks ago I came out and took all of the ivy off of these palm trees. So these great big palm trees had ivy growing way up them. And I can now tell you that there's nothing fun about pulling ivy out of the hairy palm tree trunks. That was incredibly difficult. And this one had ivy growing all the way up to the tippy top. So I was up there with a ladder pulling that off. But we didn't want to have any chance of losing the palms. So I think we're definitely making some progress. And now that the weather's nice, we're able to get out here every day and make more and more progress. So it's getting there. Let me give you one other view of the area where we worked. Okay, so here's the hedge that we trimmed up. Now, the garden has 2 levels to it. So there's a staircase around the corner here that goes up to a second level of the garden. So I just wanted to give you an idea of the size of this hedge. So it's so tall that even though it's planted on the ground level, it extends pretty far up into the Jeet garden. Now, we probably took 2 to 3 feet off the top of it, depending on the area. And that's helped a lot because it's finally given us a view from this. We're currently in the 2nd floor of the Jeet. So this has given us a view now into that upper tier where we can see the camellias and the viburnum and some of the other things. So it's definitely started to open up our view. So my current thought is taking out this hedge at some point and then planting a new shorter hedge here on the 2nd level. So we would still have the nice hedge breaking up the 2 spaces, but we would gain quite a bit of space. It would really open up the space here on this ground level because it would extend back quite a bit further than it does now. And then we'd have the stone wall, which I think would be pretty from the terrace because we're currently standing just above the terrace. So just thought I'd show you that and give you a little more perspective of how the space unfolds.
Here's our lucky thrift store find of the week. It's a food dehydrator. We had 2 of these in the US but couldn't bring them due to the voltage differences. Aaron's been dehydrating everything in the oven here recently, which can be a little tricky, so it's good to have one of these again.
This week, I thought I would show you another breakfast recipe. So we're going to be making breakfast banana splits. And I'm really excited about this recipe because to me, it's both fun and easy. And it's nice enough that you can serve it to guests, but it's also a quick and easy breakfast for yourself throughout the week. All right, so let me show you how we're going to get started. So earlier this week, we were out thrifting and I managed to find some banana split bowls, which I thought was really perfect timing. Now, you don't need these for this recipe. You could just use, a regular bowl or plate, but I thought it was really fun that we found them in perfect timing. Okay, so just like making a dessert banana split, we're gonna slice a couple bananas long ways, so one per person. And I learned earlier today, make sure you're splitting your banana from the top rather than the side if you want them to fit in the bowl the way they're supposed to. So if you've cut them on the top, then it will sit in the sides of the bowl. Okay, so there's the first one. Can you guys hear the birds outside? They're so happy that spring is finally starting to get here. Okay, so we've got our bananas. And now I'm gonna top it, instead of ice cream like you would do with a dessert, we're gonna use yogurt. So I've got plain yogurt in this situation, but if you wanted to use any kind of flavored yogurt, you could certainly do that too. But I thought since we had all the fruit, we would just stick to a plain yogurt. So I'm just gonna put a couple scoops of yogurt, maybe a few scoops, in the center. And I think now that I'm out thrifting, I'm going to be looking for more of these banana split bowls because I think it would be nice to have a set large enough for when we have company. Okay, so there's our yogurt. And then I'm just going to top this with some fresh fruit. So I would just use whatever's cheap and seasonal. So today I was able to get a good deal on some blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. And you can see I've just pre-chopped all of these strawberries into slices. Okay, so we're just gonna quickly assemble these. And this really is a fast option. So I think it's something you could even have time for on a work day. Okay, and then we got our raspberries. So when we lived in Tennessee, we had raspberries in the backyard, which I loved. So I'm eager to get some planted here. We've got blackberries, but we don't currently have any raspberries. Okay, so there's our raspberries, and then we will add some blueberries for color. And we'll leave these extras for the chef. All right, and then earlier this week, I made a big batch of homemade granola. So that's what this is in this jar. And I'll include a link to that if you're interested in the granola. So I'm just gonna add a couple scoops. So this granola that I made has, let's see, it's oats and raisins and dried apricots and coconut. So it's got a lot of tasty things going on. And I think it just adds a lot to this recipe. Okay, and you can see I've topped it today with the fruits and granola. But I think what's really fun about these is that you could do all sorts of toppings. And you could even set this up if you had guests as like a breakfast banana split bar. And you could have all kinds of toppings out and let everybody choose. So some things that I think would be fun, you could do like chocolate syrup, you could have whipped cream, strawberry jam, you could have some kind of fruit coulis. Like, there's just so many things that you could have out as a topping for this. And so what I'll do is include a link to this recipe as well as a bunch of toppings that I have on the website that I think would complement this recipe. So you can see in just a matter of a few minutes, we've assembled a really fun and nutritious breakfast.